Sandisk, the company that just keeps on disappointing me. And it might be disappointing others as well. And if you have this card right here, the Sandisk Extreme Pro 170 megabyte version, you might want to stick around and watch this. Or if you're thinking about buying it, you definitely want to watch this. Welcome back to another video. My name is Nikos. Today we're talking about Sandisk, and the relationship I have with them is deteriorating quickly, primarily because of their branding and, of course, their communication. It's starting to not be what it used to be. I'm not sure it's because of Western Digital and how they do their whole communication process ever since they got bought out by Western Digital. I've just seen a general decline. Now, this video is all about this card right here. This is the 170 megabyte version of the Extreme Pro. This is replacing the 95 megabyte per second cards that they have in previous versions. Now, I have those. They're great cards, and this one is a great card. Now, I'm not knocking this card down. It has served its purpose. It's doing well. One of them started to show some signs of issues. I formatted it, this, that. I followed some instructions. It didn't work, and then all of a sudden it started working again. So I'm kind of like, so I started thinking, hey, let me start looking at more cards. And along the way, I had made a video about this SD card reader. Now, in that previous video, I had also shown you the difference between this UHS-I versus the UHS-II that I picked up and how it was not performing the way I thought it would with this 170 megabyte per second card. Now, in that video, I kind of showed my displeasure for the marketing and what I saw and what I expected and how I was thinking about other companies and maybe exploring other avenues. Now, I'll leave that link below because it's important that you do watch that. And of course, I'll do a quick review right now. Now, in that video, I did pick up a UHS-II. My assumption was that because I had lost the original UHS-I and the UHS-II was out, it would work the same way this one does, and this card would read at 170 megabytes per second. After all, this is why you buy this card. When it says 170 megabytes per second, that's what it's reading when you're transferring files. But the write speed on this is still a V30 90 megabytes per second card. So in theory, you're not getting much of a difference between this card and the 95 megabytes per second cards. This is just the upgrade and the movement forward. Now, the idea that I had in that video was how it didn't work, and I was just disappointed in the whole aspect of it not working. I did do my due diligence, but I didn't go far enough. I say that because I should have went further, but I talked to the company and they were just kind of giving me their mumbo jumbo, and I was just kind of like, all right, I'll just send back the UHS-II and I will stick with the UHS-I, and that is all. However, I recently went and picked up the 300 megabytes per second card, and I wanted to do some tests on this since the other card started to show signs of maybe. And at that, I also picked up this Pro grade. This is the dual SD card reader, and this is from what I understand, one of the fastest on the market. And I thought, hey, this card should work on that because it is backwards compatible and it's good to go. And from the conversation I had with Sandisk last time, that should work, but it didn't. So naturally, I started doing my research, and I see a lot of people still complaining about this. Not a lot of videos out there. There's a couple videos and a couple websites where they're trying to figure out and troubleshoot this whole idea. But the idea really is the marketing behind this. And in short, what you see is when you look at this fine print here, okay, I'll read it to you. It basically says compatible with Sandisk SD UHS-I card reader for speeds up to 170 megabytes per second. Now, this branding and the way the branding is meant to really like work, you're looking at it and you're saying, well, it's a UHS-I card reader. You're not putting together that it is an actual card, which is this, which is what we established last time. Like, they're saying it's this. However, when you talk to them, the conversation doesn't go that way. So let me show you what we're talking about. After explaining everything to LEB, we get into the conversation of, I understand that the read and write speeds of your memory card are slower than you expected. Please be advised that the transfer speed is also dependent on your hardware configuration, and that advertised speeds can be obtained under optimal conditions. What she's talking about here is that I might not have the system to actually support the data transfer, but I do. In order to check what the exact issue is and what possibly caused it, we would recommend you to provide us with your test setup information. To measure the performance of your product, please use any of the following software: Windows Crystal Disk Mark and Xbench Utility for Mac. So after going through that whole process and showing her everything, she went off to consult. I have discussed the case with my team, and it seems that you are getting the optimum performance on UHS-I reader. Since the card is UHS-I card, we suggest that you use the card on UHS-I reader only in order to get the optimum performance. I respond with, so if I buy the Sandisk reader that says it's backwards compatible with UHS-I, I still have to use a UHS-I reader? It makes no sense. It's backwards compatible, meaning it should be able to pull max speed from the card, not cap it. She responds with, please allow me to inform you that Sandisk has introduced UHS-I SD cards with proprietary technology that supports data read speed surpassing the UHS-I bus speed limitations of 104 megabytes per second, which she's totally correct on. Totally correct. The actual speed on UHS-I is capped. And this is why you go to UHS-II. Period. However, there's a key word here, proprietary. Proprietary. Keep this in mind because we're going to come back to it. These SD cards are compatible with our UHS-I SD card reader, gives me the model, to achieve enhanced data read speeds up to 170 megabytes, 150 and then 150 for these different types of cards. You may also refer to the link below, which when you go and you check it out, yes, correct, it is saying that what she's explaining. Now, I respond with, so it is just one reader you can use to hit 170 megabytes per second, or what readers are compatible? And of course, she shares me this card reader. So this is the card reader. There's one. There is one. This is what she's saying, because this is proprietary. Proprietary. And I ask again, and the only one? Yes, Nikos, you're correct. For UHS-I cards, you can use the UHS-I reader for optimum performance, and similarly for UHS-II cards, you need to use the UHS-II reader in order to get the optimum performance. Which brings us back to the dilemma, the original dilemma, where I was like, if I have this UHS-II card reader, I don't want to have a UHS-I reader. It should be working because it's backwards compatible, but we have this proprietary software in there. And in order to achieve the speeds, you really need to have this card reader with this card, and then you get 170 megabytes per second, which means that I can't have a backwards compatible SD card reader that I can utilize, period. All right, that makes sense. Now, pardon my English here, but can I buy a different company? Is it proprietary like the UHS-I card? As for now, we have not tested our cards with different brands. It may or may not work. If it's proprietary, then it shouldn't work. Okay, so it may or may not be proprietary. And she responds with, it is not proprietary. It is not proprietary. What? However, we can not comment if it may or may not work. Okay, so basically if I use your cards, I need to use your readers and have two separate ones. Yes, you are correct. So there's no solution for professionals either. I have to switch companies if this is the case. And she explains there is no separate department for professionals. Another, keep this in mind. Keep this as a note. Professionals. We do not have any special card reader which can work on both UHS-I 170 and UHS-I cards. Okay. Well, then I will return the card. Thanks a lot for your clarification and help. That's completely your choice. Thank you for understanding. So the idea here is very simple. We started off with the idea that this is proprietary, and then it turns into not being proprietary, and then it turns into we don't have anything that's professional grade. All right, great. So we've established this thought process. I need to have this SD card reader in order to reach 170 megabytes per second. And this is what you need to know. We need to have this. Now, why do I get upset with this? Well, you're buying this card and you're expecting this to work. And the branding, the way they've done this, from a business perspective, is genius. It is genius. Because if you get any UHS-I reader and you're not getting the top speed, you're going to be like, well, it's not compatible. And they told me that on the package. Okay, so I got to find something that's compatible. Eventually, I'll get to it. You know, if I have a card reader, I don't want to go spend the money to get another one. So they already know this, right? So if you're not getting the speeds, eventually, hey, you might want to do it, so you'll do it. But right now, it's good. A big, big, big aspect of the consumer's mindset is on saving money with this stuff, because why would you want to be spending that money? Now, for me, it's more of investment in time, because if I can get 170 versus 90 on a transfer, I'm almost doubling my time with things loading. And if I'm loading a lot of content every day, well, this saves me a lot of time. And in a given week, you could go to like 2-3 hours of saving time. That's a lot of time. And when you're looking at it from a perspective of somebody who doesn't care about that and uploads pictures once in a while, it won't matter to them. So that's their general bigger group of people in the whole aspect of the market that they have, so they're fine with it. Now, where does this get interesting? Well, for 25 bucks Canadian, so about what, $15 to $18 USD, this is the card you need. So you would get this UHS-I card. On the other hand, this is the UHS-II that you would need for the UHS-II cards. So in order for me to walk around to different shoots and do different stuff, I would need both of these if I want to hit max speeds, which normally, you wouldn't do. But you can see there's a whole bunch of different card readers. And then you look at it and you go, let me go to their website. And when you click on SD card readers, memory cards and readers, you don't really see much, but then you see, oh wait, they have these. And you don't see the other one. And this is where you're kind of like, oh, okay, why? You actually have to click on the card. And when you click on the card, it will literally load up. And then here, as you scroll down, it's going to suggest, hey, you should use this card. Now, this is the exact name on the box. And then you realize, oh, okay, so they're just referring that this is the compatible one. And this is why she said this is the only one. Right, so that's great and all, but let's go to these pro readers. And when I look at this pro reader, and again, this is the miscommunication, and this is where you start to get upset. When I scroll down, they do have a professional lineup, and this one will work, and it pairs perfectly with these Extreme Pro cards. And this is where the disappointment comes from. It's the idea of the miscommunication, or lack of. There is no communication. It's basically reading from a script and trying to figure out what the customer is saying. They've established this market that they have bought, and they're just kind of like, let's treat it like we have all our other Western Digital products. And we're coming from a place where when you would actually get in touch with Sandisk, you would get your answer straight. Now, when you're looking at the idea of the branding here, this information that they're giving you here is clear cut. They're talking about this card reader, but when you write on the card reader, as part of the card reader, UHS-I card reader, and you don't have a separate name for it, you're assuming any UHS-I card reader. And when you talk to them and they tell you it's proprietary, and it works with only this card reader, but then they go, well, it's not proprietary, and it's a UHS-I card reader that you should be using, it's again miscommunication. And then on top of that, they don't have professional grade card readers, but on their website they do. And once again, you feel like you're being misled or there is a disconnect there in your conversation. And then why would I spend $103? That's Canadian. Okay, so what, $90, $85 right now, USD? Why would I spend that money? To test what? Why? I'm losing time, energy, and money on this. Especially when I pick up this 300 megabyte per second card, and this one is supposed to be performing top notch, and it's not. There are some issues with it that I found. And I'm sitting there, I'm going, well, why? I shouldn't be seeing anything here. This is like an expensive card. Yet here we are, we're having this conversation. Now, this is a $164 USD card on sale. It's usually like $212 or whatever. So you're sitting there going, that's a lot of money, especially when I got to buy another one for the R6, for instance. And it adds up. And then you're sitting there and you're like, well, if I'm filming in 4K, I want it to reach this top performance, right? And now you question, is this the process you want to move forward on with the future? So just to summarize here, the cards are good. The cards last a long time. There are no issues with the cards. From a perspective of usability, they perform. They do what they need to do at the ratings that they have. I will make more videos about all this stuff when you're looking at it in purchasing and the speeds I'm getting because I'm testing all of them, right? And I'm also testing this Pro grade because their specs aren't 100%, and I am talking with the company about it and trying to figure out what is going on and what I should be expecting, not what's on the box. And I'm looking at their versions of the UHS-II cards, and those come in 256 gigabytes for comparison with a 128 that this only comes in, and the price point is much cheaper. And I can see myself sticking with Pro Grade here instead of this. So the idea always becomes, we got to ask ourselves, you know, how faithful can we be to a company, and how trustworthy can we be to a company? Because I have clients that are trusting me, and now I have to make sure that I'm trusting the right company. And right now it's just kind of like, I feel like that guy who is asking too many questions, and the company doesn't want to, you know, partake in answering these questions because they might not know, or maybe they're misleading or whatever. For me, this branding on the card, when you're looking at this branding and it literally says the name of the card reader, but it makes it sound like this card reader is just the UHS-I is part of that card. And then you find out that it's the only one that works. But then when you go on the website and you find the professional grade that they said it didn't exist, actually seems like that one will work. So, not to drag on this video anymore, but I did more due diligence. I thought everybody should know that. So, once again, great cards. Now you know, in case you're wondering. And of course, you might have more questions, comments, concerns, discrepancies. Leave them below, and check out these two videos.